Hello, I am Matt Williamson. How's it going? We are getting close to the draft, almost a week away. Urge you to check out all of my coverage coming up for the draft. Most of it's through Steelers.com, of course, but I will be on live every second of draft coverage, as well as a preview show, a recap show. Be coming at you with these podcasts like crazy as usual. Today I thought was a good time to really look at the Steelers' 30 visits. And if you don't know, you get 30 visits plus your locals. And so far, they've used 27 of the 30. Not a lot of mystery here. And I do think there is a little gamesmanship, and we'll get to each player. But I think it's pretty clear what they're looking to do with these visits. Now, I will tell you, often a visit will eliminate a player. You know, you spend the day with them and then you say, we can scratch him off. I had some questions and he didn't answer them the way we wanted. Okay, we're done. Sometimes it's slightly a medical thing or just need to answer all these questions. We got these unchecked boxes in our scouting report. You know, I just want to ask the player. But usually it's like, is he a personality fit? Do I like the person? Do I want him on my team, etc.? So again, they have used 27 of their 30 visits, including a couple today. I'm recording this on Tuesday. And this is how they've been dispersed. We'll talk about the players in a minute. But 4 quarterbacks. 9 of their 30 have been running backs. I think they're going to draft a running back. 4 wide receivers. 8 of their 30 have been defensive linemen. I think they're going to draft a defensive lineman. 2 oddballs, and we'll bring them up, and 3 corners. So let's start with the quarterbacks. They're reasonably high-end guys. My man Milroe has not been in. I guess he could be one of the final 3, and not every team uses all 30. But they took him to dinner at Alabama. By all accounts, he's the most likable, smart, all the character stuff checks out times 1,000. They may not need to know any more about him. And hunch, again, this is my hunch and hope, is that they really covet Milroe. And maybe you don't bring him in on a visit just to kind of throw people off the scent a little. Because they have brought in Tyler Shuck, who's my second favorite target this year for the Steelers quarterback position, Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, and Kyle McCord. McCord's interesting. I mean, he's a little different than the rest in that I think that he's probably a lifetime backup, but he'd be probably the best of that group in this draft. So he's not just a throwaway. He's not a 7th-round pick. He's probably a 4th-round pick that maybe you strike gold if you can reel him in a little bit. Rumor has it that, and this might be a total smokescreen, but I've heard some people, quote, in the know in the media say Tomlin really is into Shedeur Sanders. Maybe. I, again, would like to aim higher than that. I'm not big on Jackson Dart, but I'm sure that they had a lot of questions for him. And Shuck, as I mentioned, is my second favorite target for the price you have to pay. I look at Shuck and Milroe as basically early seconds. And they could be your answer. And I don't think that's insane at all. I'm hoping, this is my thought, that Sanders and Dart are brought in to kind of make you think we're into them, but we're really not. But I don't know that for sure. But those are the names at the quarterback position. Again, they could bring in 3 more, but they are doing due diligence. They've certainly been to Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, these other quarterbacks that are going to get drafted. They've been to all those pro days. So they are digging in heavy at quarterback. Whether they are aggressive and get one or not, they will have all the information. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all the madness, whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor. BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to a $200,000 bracket contest, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Now let's get to these running backs. So again, 9 running backs out of their 27 visits so far. They're going to draft a running back. And if they wait, they might draft 2. And I've told you before, if you listen to yesterday's pod, great running back class. Might as well fish in the water that have a lot of fish, you know? But they brought in a variety in terms of guys that are going to go high. O'Marion Hampton might not even be there at 21. Caleb Johnson is probably a 2nd to 3rd round pick. Travion Henderson is a top 45 pick. So these are big investments. And they've brought in big guys, Giddens, Hampton, Ollie Gordon, Caleb Johnson, that would be closer to Najee in terms of physicalness. But they've also brought in the burners. Tootin, Blue, Henderson. These are like the fastest running backs in this draft. They're a little undersized, but most of them are pretty well built. But they're speedsters. I think I said Sampson too. Sampson's a real speedster. So they're looking at all shapes and sizes. What kind of back will they draft? And in what round area is interesting to me, because they really have a little bit of everything, and this class has a little bit of everything at running back. But I'm wondering how much of a need they think it is. How heavy are they willing to invest? And speaking of heavy, do they want the 220-pound guy, or are they happy with the 205-pound guy that runs a 4.4? To be determined, but one of these backs is going to be a Steeler, if not more. The receivers are also interesting. It's Jalen Knoll and his teammate Jaden Higgins, both from Iowa State, and Matthew Golden. And then there's Savion Williams from TCU, who's a little different. I'm going to just tell you about him super quick. He's the Cordarrelle Patterson type, really underdeveloped as a receiver, great with his ball in his hands. Maybe he should even be with the running backs. I think everyone views him differently. So he's kind of not like the other at the wide receiver position. But Knoll, Higgins, Golden, I think Higgins and Golden are guaranteed top 50 picks. I think Golden's almost guaranteed a 1st-round pick. And I don't think Knoll's far behind. I mean, he could absolutely go in round 2. So what's the logic there? I mean, to me, the short of it is you're probably only ending up with one of these guys if Pickens gets traded. So maybe you still have that door open, that someone blows your doors off and drafts Pickens, and then you pivot and take Higgins and move your draft capital around a little bit. Okay, I would understand that. Maybe Knoll gets to your 3rd-round pick, maybe, and that would be nice value, too good to pass up. So that's a little curious that they're only looking at costlier receivers, guys that are going to be a little pricey. D-line, most of the guys they brought in are the mid-round depth guys. Now, Derek Harmon absolutely is not. He would be your 1st pick, and I would be very happy with that. No question. Darius Alexander, he's listed as date unknown, so it's not official if he was here or if he's coming, but he's on their list, so he's a little foggy. But he's a 2nd-round pick. But most of these guys are your depth defensive linemen. And like I told you yesterday, a super deep draft. And most of them are more nosy-ish. Pegas from Ole Miss fits that bill. Yahya Black from Iowa, same. Josh Farmer, Florida State. Jamari Caldwell, another Oregon guy. These are your 3rd, 4th, 5th round in a really deep draft, nose tackle types. There's some others, but most, who's the other one here? Elijah Roberts, 2 SMU dudes. Jared Harrison Hunt would be a late pick. Elijah Roberts would be an edge that you beef up and move him inside. Maybe they wanted to get a better feel of how comfortable would he be putting on 10, 15 pounds and being a 3-4 defensive end as opposed to a 4-3 end. So I bet that they take one very high, but Harmon's really the only guy in this list that would be first round capable, but maybe they feel as good as they're going to feel about Grant and Nolan and whomever, Tyleik Williams. So I do think the D tackle, the fact that they brought in 8 of them is interesting and telling, but they're not super high pedigree guys, which slightly worries me because I really hope that they use premium picks on defensive tackles. Now, I said there's 2 that I think are 2 visits that don't really look like the others. That's Nick Emuwari from South Carolina, safety, and edge Shamar Stewart from A&M. Both are like the freakiest athletes in this draft. Both are better testers than football players, especially Stewart. Maybe you could convince the world that Stewart can bulk up and be Liao, as an interior guy, or even, a 3-4 end, maybe. And Umari could do a lot of different things for you. But these 2 just scream smokescreen to me. That if you get the world thinking, man, the Steelers might be interested in Stewart or Emuwari, maybe that helps facilitate a trade, or someone that wants those guys might want to move ahead of you. And then that's one guy that you're really not interested that comes off the board before your pick at 21. Those 2 just look like outliers of the 27 visits. Now, I also think these 3 corners are interesting. Zazare Thomas from Florida State, Trey Amos from Ole Miss, and Justin Wally from Minnesota. You've probably not heard of Wally. I'm a little late to the party on him. I really like him. I think he's a 4th, 5th round pick that has Steelers written all over him. So he is someone I could absolutely see them drafting at cost. The other 2, Thomas got some first round buzz, man corner. Amos, I think, legitimately could be in the first round, man corner. Slay, man corner. I mean, I think this man corner thing is real. But I can't imagine them using the 21st pick or even any first-round pick on Amos. Not that he's not worth it. That's a question. But with all their other needs, they would have to have a lot of other draft capital and a trade down to make Amos work, in my opinion. But I bet they like him. I'm sure they had some questions for him. Thomas, to me, if he's sitting there in the 3rd round, I would consider it. But as poorly as he ran, I think there's a chance he could. But he's a press man corner that's good technically, but he's a 4-6 guy. And if he gets in a trail position, he's in trouble. So I'm not exactly sure what message they're telling us with the corners, other than man coverage. But we kind of knew that message. But these things do affirm some suspicions. And I always say free agency and the draft are my favorite things because it's really the only time of the year where teams don't lie to you. I think these 30 visits are partially like that, in that there is something to read through the tea leaves with these visits, but there's also some smoke screens and some misdirections and sleight of hand here too, and some gamesmanship. And a couple of these really make that pretty obvious to me, and maybe even with the quarterbacks. All right, everyone. I'll probably do a mailbag tomorrow, and maybe Aaron Rodgers will sign one day. Who knows?